All right, hi everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Learning Kitchen Live. My name is Carolyn and I am one of the registered dietitians here at Community Servings. As always, I want to start off by thanking our friends at Boston Scientific for their ongoing support of Learning Kitchen Live. And as a reminder, we will be putting the recipes that we'll be making today, as well as a nutrition education handout in the comment section of this video. So with that, we are going to jump right in. Today, I am going to show you how to make two different recipes using roasted beets. So beets are a root vegetable. You can find them in your grocery store all year long, but they come into season towards the late summer, into the late fall, early winter. So as we're approaching that time of the year, I thought it would be great to showcase a recipe that definitely still has some summer flair to it, but you could also use it as we get into the fall weather or fall time of year. So beets, they come in a variety of different colors. You might be most familiar with the deep purple beets that you probably see most often at the grocery store. That's what we're going to be using today. You can already see them here. But they also come in golden and even candy striped. So they all taste slightly a little bit different. So it's really up to you in terms of these recipes. Whatever you have available or your preferences, you can use. So beets, I think, are a hit or miss vegetable. Some people really, really love them, or other people really dislike them. The point of today's recipe is maybe to show you different ways that you can enjoy beets, or if you're like, not for me, you can use these recipes and just swap out the veggies for maybe your other favorite. So beets are a really great option. Why I really like them, not only do I think they taste good, is they really hold up their integrity if you roast them ahead of time. Some veggies, if you meal prep them or cook them at the beginning of the week, after about 4 to 5 days, they might get a little limp or soggy in your fridge. Root vegetables like beets really hold up well when you roast them and then store them in their fridge. So that's exactly what we did with this recipe today. I've already roasted these beets ahead of time, so you can see here they're already roasted and cooled. To do this, it's pretty simple. You just chop the top ends of the beets off, peel them, dice them up, toss them in a little bit of olive oil, and bake in the oven. They do take a decent amount of time, so I did this little batch and it took up to 45 minutes in my oven. But again, once they're done, you have them for the full week and can be kept right in an airtight container for about 5 days. So again, what's really great about this is that you have these roasted beets. You could eat them as is, put them over a salad, use them like in the recipes we're going to feature today. They can go in soups, grain bowls, so many different options once they're already prepped in your refrigerator. So today, I'm going to show you how to make, again, two different recipes featuring these roasted beets. One is a roasted beet hummus, and the other is a beet and feta salad. And you're going to see these come together so quickly once you have these beets already ready and roasted to go. So we're going to start with the hummus recipe. Hummus is a great staple to have in your house all year round. You can use hummus on sandwiches as a spread. You can use it with veggies as a dip. You can have pita, use it on a salad as a dressing, or even in a grain bowl. So there are a lot of different options. And you might notice at the grocery store, there are so many different varieties. Think artichoke, garlic, roasted red pepper. I've seen balsamic and onion, so many different types. And the store-bought stuff is super convenient. You just have it in your fridge, ready to go. What I like about making hummus at home is the option to control the ingredients used, so you can use less salt if that's something you're concerned about, but also too, you can add a variety of different flavors, specifically different types of vegetables. So as I said, today we're making roasted beets, but you could really use a lot of different veggies, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So for the base of a hummus recipe, what you're going to use are chickpeas. So you just have canned chickpeas at the store. Always be on the lookout for that low sodium version. And again, if you can't find low sodium chickpeas or beans, you could always rinse them under water. Or if a recipe calls for some additional salt, you could always omit or leave that out. So what we're going to do is simply add all the ingredients to this food processor and pulse or blend it up. I've had luck using a blender at home as well. So if you don't have a food processor, you could also do this in a blender. Might just take a little bit more effort scraping down the sides to get it to kind of blend and get that hummusy consistency. So as I said, we're going to add 1 can of chickpeas. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil. We're going to add a clove of garlic. With the garlic, you could add the whole clove in, but it might not get minced or chopped up as finely. So usually if I'm doing this and it calls for a whole clove of garlic, I like to mince it up ahead of time, just so you don't get one big bite with a whole garlic chunk in there. You're going to use half a lemon, or the juice of half a lemon. Right. And then you're going to use 2 tablespoons of tahini. Tahini is a sesame seed paste, so this is what gives hummus that flavor. So, sometimes you might have someone who has an allergy to sesame, or maybe you can't find it at the grocery store. Sesame definitely gives hummus that kind of creamier consistency or texture, but also the flavor. But if you're really strapped and you can't find it, or there's an allergy, you could actually use like a little bit more of the olive oil, a little more water in the recipe in place of this, or even some of the liquid from the chickpeas. So that like liquid that you usually drain out, you could use a little of that as well to add some of that creamy texture. So we're just going to add 2 tablespoons right in here. All right, so this is your base hummus recipe. If you just blended this up as is, you'd have your traditional, regular, garlic-flavored hummus. But again, this is roasted beet hummus, so what I'm going to do is take about a half a cup of roasted beets. Again, I already roasted these ahead of time. They're cooled and chilled, just took them right out of the refrigerator. You add this in, and then we're going to pulse it or blend it to get it to that nice, creamy consistency. So it's going to be loud for a minute, but you'll see kind of it blend or come together. All right, and so when making hummus, whether it's in the blender or the food processor, a lot of times what I like to do is just take a spatula and scrape down some of the side. Especially when you're using something like roasted beets in there, you want to make sure that they all get blended up so it's nice and smooth consistency. And depending also on how thick you like your hummus or the consistency, you could also add a little more liquid, whether that's olive oil, a little water, or a little bit more of that sesame seed paste. Again, it just depends if you like it a little bit thinner or thicker. All right, perfect. So you can see you have this beautiful colored hummus. It's like this deep purpley pinkish color. So again, I've never really seen beet hummus at the grocery store. You may be able to find it at a specialty food store or a local farmer's market, but this is super easy to be able to create at home. And again, using the beets is just going to add more nutrition, more variety to your diet. We always talk about eating a rainbow, right? Eating so many different colors. And this deep purple color, oftentimes you get more in fruits, right? Think like blueberries, plums, like grapes, that type of thing, but not a lot of vegetables. So again, if you use the beets, you get this really nice color. So I said earlier too, what I like about making this at home is that you can add veggies that you might have on hand. So I know for myself towards the end of the week, sometimes your vegetables are maybe kind of on their way out, right? You're not sure if you're going to be able to use them, or they might just go bad before you get a chance to use them. You could just swap those right for the beets in this recipe. So for example, I might have some roasted carrots at home, right? Those are going bad, or maybe fresh carrots that might not be used up. You could roast them in the oven, and then in place of these beets, just pop the roasted carrots into this recipe, and suddenly you have carrot hummus. It's just a different way to, again, use up vegetables, so saving you a little bit of money, but then also getting some other nutrition into your diet and a variety of different colors or veggies. All right, so that's what it looks like. Again, you can pair it with different veggies, pita, on a salad, sandwich, so many different options. And again, you could keep this right in the refrigerator for about a week, or you could pop it into the freezer and then just take it out when you need it later. All right, cool. So that's just one recipe. Pretty quick to come together again once you have the beets roasted. The next one I'm going to show you how to make is a side salad, and that's just a simple beet and feta salad. So what we're going to do is use just the rest of the roasted beets here, and this comes together super, super quickly. In this recipe, you're going to take just your roasted beets. They're already cooled or chilled. You're going to add a little bit of feta cheese, some olive oil. You're going to use some fresh parsley that's just chopped up, and a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. All right, and then you just mix it with a spoon, and it's good to go. So again, super, super fast to come together. This is great to use on top of salads, as a side dish. You could eat it as is, lots of different options. All right. So those are two different recipes, very different recipes featuring the roasted beets. Again, the intent today is just to show you what you can do when you have food prepped or meal prepped in your refrigerator. So if you are, again, not a fan of beets, you certainly could use other vegetables in place of the beets, just swap them out for the even amounts. And as you're thinking about kind of wrapping up the summer or going into the fall, these are great options that you can bring to cookouts and parties. They're great cold. They make for a really good appetizer. So I'd encourage you to think about it. You might expose yourself to new ingredients, maybe your family and friends to some new ingredients, and get to try a really tasty new recipe. So as always, if you try these out, we want to hear from you. So feel free to let us know in the comments section below. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask. And if not, we'll see you back here next week for another episode of Learning Kitchen Live.